Chapter 4. Law of Destiny. In my final year of education prior to going to college, our instructor asked us one day to come up with a suitable research project. At the time I had recently switched my attention from one hobby to another, so I decided to research whether the various kings had hobbies, too. I didn't expect it to be approved, as it was a last-minute selection totally arbitrary. The look of amusement on Cousin Mark's face should have given me a clue why he accepted it. I became fascinated by the numerous and varied hobbies that occupied the attention of the different kings. Somehow I expected most of them to be content with just being king. Zakarian was crazy about dyes, and Alexandros started the selective breeding of the spotted, multi-horned island goats. The more research I did, the more I discovered. Some kings studied the Estolian butterflies, others the bees. Quaidaro studied our native hairy bats. I even made up a poem to begin my presentation in front of the class. Our kings were fond of many things: goats and trees, butterflies and bees, hairy bats, and dye in vats. Serenity Barlow Zakarian, in Scrito. Max, with the help of one of his assistants, applied a temporary splint. Xavier asked Eduardo, "Do you know why you fell?" "It was the glare," he said truthfully. "It was just so unexpected, so beautiful, I lost track of where I was on the stairs and fell." He flushed again at the memory. Xavier maneuvered himself closer, and when he spoke, his voice was rough and he was looking at Eduardo with a strange expression on his face. "When is your 30th birthday?" Eduardo was aware that he looked old for his age. His hair began receding when he was 18, and in recent years he had put on a roll of fat around his waist. He was a bit stooped. The last time anyone accurately guessed his age was when he was 12. By the time he was 14, he looked old enough to vote. The two men were looking at him strangely. He'd lapsed into memories without answering the question. "Sorry. My birthday is August 14th. "We will remove the cast the week before your birthday," Max said. Despite the excellent pain medicine available, and the apparent simplicity of the break, the following week was one of the worst in his life. Originally, he was to have occupied one of the tower guest suites, but once it was clear he would not be climbing stairs, and would need frequent help, he was given a luxurious set of rooms in the keeper's wing of the palace. After the first week, the worst of the pain was over. He could get around easily with crutches. Once he was mobile, he was directed to the lounge that held the one elevator in the palace. Xavier accompanied him and said, "I was thinking this would be the perfect place for you to do your work. It provides you with access to all the levels, and there are all manner of reference books. It is, you might say, the royal library." It was a delightful space. The central shaft was both the elevator and small two-level apartments. Between the shaft and the outer walls were broad landings at each level, with stairs stretching between inner and outer walls. The walls were lined with books. In essence, the result was a flight of stairs, and the attendant library lining the walls, that climbed a vertical distance well in excess of 200 feet. It was the equivalent of a 20-story building. As an historian, his broken leg did not interfere with his work. Once he established his workspace, he was able to dig into the information provided for him. 2 days after he began to work on his task, Xavier joined him. "My daughter has requested that she be allowed to assist you. Has she talked about this with you?" Anastasia stopped in to see him frequently. Each time she surprised him, the opalescent radiance that danced around her fascinated him. He didn't know if she would, in the end, be more of a hindrance than help. But his broken leg did slow him down. "I welcome the help. I have asked Jamal Taylor, who has recently finished his acolyte year, to be available to you as well." On his first day working in the library, Jamal had approached him to ask if he could help. Roughly 1/3 of Estolians had darker features, and Jamal sported very dark skin, darker than most. His eyes were equally dark, and he had a lively personality and would make a phenomenal historian. He smiled in pleasure at the thought of the young man assisting him. "I've met him, he has a fine mind and a passion for historical accuracy. I was very impressed with him. Eduardo studied Xavier's grim expression and asked, "What exactly did you want to tell me?" "My daughter is infatuated with you. I believe that you return the attraction. I utterly forbid you to kiss her. You must promise, moreover, to never be alone with her. Jamal has offered to move into the room next to yours, so that he can help you in all ways." "And act as a chaperone," Eduardo said. "Fine." He had never had a father warn him off before. "Your word?" Xavier insisted. There were nuances to the conversation that were intriguing. However, he had to put Xavier's mind at rest before he asked the half-dozen questions clamoring within him. "I promise that I will neither kiss nor be alone with your daughter, Anastasia." Xavier's eyes searched his, and he said finally, "Our belief system is quite different from many you may have studied over the years. To us, a woman's purity before finding the one man with whom she will spend eternity is utterly critical. To take a woman's purity casually is to effectively ruin her chance to marry and obtain all of the glorious blessings promised to our founder Zacharias and to his descendants until time itself ceases to be time." Xavier needed to be able to trust him to work with Anastasia without breaking his promise. Searching for the right words, he said, "I have always been fascinated by the role of faith and religion as applied to love, marriage, and the afterlife. I may not be Estolian, but I will treasure and value your beliefs, and your daughter, as if I was born here. She is safe with me." Most of the time he was working with Jamal and Anastasia, Eduardo was able to forget how attractive she was. From time to time, however, he would send Jamal to fetch a book from another level of the library or to look something up, and he would realize that he'd been staring at her, and the ghost of an echo of the lively inner life of a fire opal surrounding her, as ephemeral as the afterimage one got after accidentally glancing directly at the sun.